Hey guys, coming at you with another video on the 99 XJ Cherokee two-door. Um, I was driving it, off-roading it, realized, hey, I haven't made a video on this thing in a while. So, figured I'd give you guys an update. It hasn't been too incredibly exciting. I've pretty much just been dailying it, or driving it fairly often at least. Right off the bat, if you watched the last video, you'll probably spot a few things that are different about it. First and foremost is last night I picked up a set of these 30 by 9.5 tires on these rims, which are funnily enough are the exact same wheels that were on this thing with the 35s. It looks kind of dinky right now, but it drives a million times better. And the main reason, I mean, these tires aren't exactly great tread-wise in the front, but the main reason I picked them up is because those 35s, the front passenger tire at this point was completely bald. It had a pretty big gash in the tire right here and all these little crevices. It was just super dry rotted, which I've never seen a tire dry rot on the tread before, but the whole tire is dry rotted. So, which is interesting to me because the back tires look brand new. Like the back tires look like they have almost no miles on them, and the front two tires are way worn down. So I don't know. Obviously, this thing had an alignment issue. I forget if I mentioned that in the previous video, but I think the front axle is bent on the passenger side because this wheel was cambered in at the top pretty significantly, to the point that you'd hit a bump and it would kind of wander on the road. Yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before, recently, I put new ball joints in it, and I put an adjustable lower ball joint where I cambered it in all the way at the bottom to straighten the wheel out. And now, as you can see, wheel's straight. Obviously, that doesn't fix the problem. That's just a sloppy band-aid on it. But problem is the front and rear axles have 373s in them, and it is it's impossible to find an XJ axle with 373s, because as far as I know, they didn't offer 373s in the XJs. It was either 308s, 355s, or 410s if you had the towing package. I know they offered 373s in the TJs, but I think the TJ axles are different somehow. But basically, it just comes down to it's hard to find a replacement. I don't know where it's bent because it doesn't look like the axle C is bent, and the axle tube doesn't look bent, but it's definitely bent. I think if I can get an angle of it, but it looks like the axle tube has been welded back in at some point. And I think if nothing else is bent, I think that's the culprit, is they didn't weld it in straight. And obviously with the axle being bent, you can see with all the splatter everywhere and the huge puddle there, but it is just dumping gear oil out of that axle tube. I was going to replace the inner axle seal, but if the axle's bent, then that new axle seal is just going to get worn right back out. And taking the locker out would be a pain in the butt. Taking this whole diff apart would be a pain. I didn't want to take this side off and all apart, and I was just really, I was fuming with these ball joints because, the wheel bearing I got was wrong. The upper ball joint, the grease zerk plug didn't want to come out because they must have really ramrodded it at the factory. I can't get a socket on it. I can't get a wrench on it without it slipping off. I can't get a pair of vice grips on it, so that ball joint's not getting greased. But anyway, that's the fiasco with that. So I got new tires put on. I got the new steering stabilizer put on. I forget if I mentioned that in the last video. The front bumper and tow hooks I repainted. Just because, I mean, all the black on this car is really faded. The front bumper just looked kind of trashy. I still have to do the rear bumper. I did do the rock sliders, and I painted over the rust spots on the rocker panels just to, and I shot the underside of the car with black paint. And if you'll notice, unfortunately, there's a sizable hole in the floor. There, and there, and then there's another one on the driver's side, but yeah, this thing needs floors, rockers, quarter panels, but nothing too crazy. Nothing that I wasn't expecting. But yeah, I think I didn't show this. I got a set of stock seats put in because the seats that were in it just were not comfortable, and you couldn't recline them because the little knobs to recline them were broken. What else did I do? I put new speakers in it, but the new speakers I put in it are too small, and one of them already doesn't work. And I took they're rolled down, but I took the tint off the windows and the windshield because it was impossible to see out of this thing at night, and at that point it's just dangerous. Go under the hood here. Just a second. So as you can see, I got a new valve cover put on. That the original one was whatever paint they used on the valve cover was not engine paint, or they did not apply it properly, because it was like pretty much all the paint flaked off that valve cover. It was honestly impressive. And I got the valve cover put on. I put a new alternator on it. I got new horns put on it. As far as future plans with this thing go, I am currently toying with the idea of delifting it and just putting it back to stock height, which I know sounds really stupid and crazy, but well, I would either put it back to stock height or put like maybe a 2-inch lift on it instead of, I think this thing has like a 6 or 8-inch lift, just because the style of off-roading that I do, I don't need the lift that much. And it just kind of makes the lift, it being so jacked up, makes it kind of uncomfortable to get in and out of. You know, this thing's super top heavy. What I would really like to do is have it stock height or slightly lifted. That way I can tow with it if I want to or whatever. But basically my future plans for this in general, if I were to do that, would be do all the body work, repaint it, basically make it look like kind of like a day 2 build, you know, with like period correct stuff that someone would have done to this back in the year 2000. You know, put like Holly retro brights on it instead of these LEDs. That way they're bright, but they're not LEDs, or they don't look like it. Keep the bumpers, or what I really want to do is get a brush guard, like a push bumper on this thing with KC highlighters. No, KC highlights, yeah. But push bar with KC highlights, or a winch. Pretty much either this 30s or 31s, like stock size tires, because this thing drives infinitely better with these 30s. Like, you don't, before I would let out on the clutch and it would take a lot of clutch slip to get this thing moving, and it honestly felt like it was just wrecking the clutch every time you took off. Now I can pretty much let the clutch out without even using the throttle at all and just take off from a stop. Fifth gear's usable. It feels like it has more power, which obviously, because I put smaller tires on there, but yeah, probably ditch these bushwhackers because they're not in good shape anymore. They're cracked. The screws are nasty looking. Some of them are backing out. So I'll probably get rid of those, put stock fender flares on it, de-lift it, KC highlighters, roof rack, kind of make it into something where I could take it and use it as a camping rig, if anything. Because again, like, I don't do hardcore off-roading, so there's not much of a point in me having this big lift. I mean, I'll keep all the lift stuff, obviously, and if I want to put it back on, I can put it back on, but I think if I were to do that, I would get a parts Jeep and just use the axles and suspension from that, or at least the axles, and get the suspension new. Because with the bent front axle is one thing, but this thing has always had a howl when you're driving, and I thought, you know, oh, maybe it's the mud terrains. Well, after I changed these tires, it's not the mud terrains, it's the rear end. 8.8 that's in here is just, it was rebuilt at one point when the my buddy that I bought this off of had it. He does have paperwork for them putting a new rear diff in it, but it is howling. Yesterday when I took it to get these tires, it spat a bunch of gear oil out of this breather, and I tried getting that fill plug out, and the fill plug is completely seized in there. So, like, I either have to get, I tried welding it. I can't get a good connection with my welder to, like, weld. I was gonna try and weld like a extension for like a ratchet, just weld an extension in there. I can't get a good connection. I can't get a good weld. And with the rear end howling, it's on its last legs anyway, so, you know, if I have to put another rear end in this, it'll probably end up being a Dana 35, and then I might as well just get a parts Jeep or find stock axles. And then obviously with stock axles, it's not going to be very conducive to putting big tires on it. It's not really that big of an issue. I mean, I had stock axles on my Wrangler with 33s and it did fine. You know, everybody always says, oh, you put 33s on a Dana 35, you're going to nuke your rear end. It's like, no, it was fine. But, you know, with what I want to do, stock axles are fine. But, yeah, overall, this thing's been pretty good to me. I can't really complain. You know, all the issues that it has are all things that I was expecting it to have. So at the end of the day, it's not like I'm kicking myself for buying this thing. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I might shoot an update video on the Wrangler, but nothing much has changed with that either. But yeah, anyways, I will see you in the next one.